No, I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna hear your promises. You do you and I'll do me. That's just the way it is.
Boom.
Biddly, 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 but yes, yo. Here we go. There ain't nobody down round here. You know what time it is. Get that badger in and on and over here. We had to move back to get his greatness in. We've got Ming's t-shirt on, the legendary Ming, the legendary MVG. John, LUFC Garside, Pete Booth, Blind Stag Astro, Southie, Mick the Crocodile Dundee, Sean Rooney. Shout out to you guys for the super chats. Render LUFC also for handing out them subscriptions, them memberships like his Father Claus, Santa Claus. Quick shit vid. I'm aware that the clout chase is definitely in and on and over here. This is the second video of the day. The hat's come off, so the hair's a bit greasy, but nobody cares around here. There ain't nobody down round here. If you could support the channel, guys, it'd be much appreciated. I've got a bit more time to do these things nowadays, so I might be going live a little bit later on. I'll let you know if they're in demand. I'll see if there's anybody that fancies a chat. But we will be live most nights of the week for the foreseeable, and there'll be a couple of shit vids each day. So if you could subscribe, like, tell a friend to tell a friend, it'd be much appreciated. The video from earlier on today, if you want to go check that out, because my morning videos, YouTube does never help me out because I always do the nighttime videos. So YouTube's a bit like, oh, what's he doing on the morning? But we're just going to keep at it, keep going with it. Quick shit video dimriado rapida. Quick shit vid. Weird how Schmidt was being cried out for last year. Byron was laughed at when it was suggested, particularly on my channel, suggested what would be the problem with getting Byron in for another year. Older head, knows what it's all about, happy to sit on bench, happy to do a job, come on right back, left back, shore it up, in a worst case scenario, ever play centre back. This is when everybody loses their minds, like Joker style, the Dark Knight style, because, you know, the thing now that I'm suggesting that Byron's going to play centre back, I don't want him anywhere near centre back, you know, but right or left back to do a job, you cannot tell me it wouldn't be a better option than Schmidt. Having watched Schmidt the other day against Villarreal, it was either tying himself up in knots or getting tied up in knots. So it certainly is a better option. And, you know, it'll be Schmidt that's on the way out. Byron's a cheap option. Obviously, no signing on fee. Well, I don't know whether in his contract they might get a signing on fee. Might they sometimes get a couple of $100,000 out there, just from my knowledge of FIFA, or not FIFA, Football Manager. You know, you used to always whack that in, and then you realised afterwards as a youngster that it actually came off the overall spend that you could have. So you think, well, that's free money. Like, I can go up to 750k here for signing on fee. And then you realise it just comes off of your whole lottery fund that you've tried to abuse and cheat your way to by selling the worst players in your squad. Taking over the other team, Arsenal, say at the time, they had a bit of money in bank, take over their team, make your player unhappy, and then put in a bid for like 100 million for some shit, and then you get that 100 million. It was an amazing game, and then the player wouldn't leave and all that stuff. But we're not here for that. We're talking shit. We're going off on a real tangent. Is there a way back for Mateo Joseph? I mentioned it earlier in my video today that we're going to talk about it a little bit more. There's been a few news articles about this, like, because obviously it's looking unlikely, or it's looking like Leeds are in no rush to get rid of Joseph. Now, what is interesting about the Joseph scenario is obviously I think he had hedged his bets that we would have Rio Betis would sort of come snapping him up and just be willing to pay the money, and they're obviously not, and they are looking like they're signing other players, so they're spending money elsewhere. I don't know if he knows how sort of like not in demand he is. Under 21s football is not real football. People are talking about him just sort of having to apologise, and is that the way back for him into the squad? Now, ultimately, and this is such an obvious one, but if Farke rates him, we know Parag does, don't they? Parag won't be stepping in on this case, but he did say, you know, he made some comments about him. I think last week we did a video about it, just saying, you know, that he does rate him. But if Farke rates him and thinks he can do a job for him in the Premier League, Farke will give him the opportunity to do so. Or he'll want him to get back into training. He'll want him to work really hard to get anywhere near the side. He'll want to see a brilliant work ethic from him, and no bitching and moaning. And, you know, he'll have to work twice as hard to get anywhere near. Now, we have to agree that Farke can't rate him that much. I think he wanted him around the place. I think he'd have been happy to have him around. But ultimately, if he couldn't perform to his best or to what people believe the best of his potential is in the Championship for a title winning side with 100 points and 90 goals or whatever we got, and he can't compete in that side in comparison to your Peru Parisleys, then what chance has he got in a challenging season in the Premier League? I also think it's quite funny how the criticism of Peru Parisley that he can't make the step up and Metcher's not quite not quite enough for us. Bamford, we won't even talk about. There's no point going down that rabbit hole. But then Joseph, for some reason, definitely can make the step up. It's like a funny paradox. And then Joseph apparently will go on and do. If Peru Parisley went to Real Betis, I put money on it, he'd do better than Joseph. I think Peru Parisley deserves an opportunity in the Premier League just as much as any other lads do. I actually think it'd be interesting to see who he goes up top with, my man Faki Fucker, because I'm sort of swaying in and out of thinking it'll be Peru Parisley and then Metcher. I'm like, I don't know, because it does offer different things. I think Peru Parisley's touch, etc., doesn't get a great deal of respect, really. I think he's better on the ball than people sort of make out, and I don't think he's as slow as everybody makes out. But Metcher certainly is faster and certainly looks to be better at holding the ball up and stuff. Whether he's got the subtle touch that Peru's got, because I do think Peru does have that round edge at box, and he can play some wicked through balls. And like we were discussing, if the wingers are getting forward, he can drop into the 10k. We've also, who do you think he goes with in the middle? We spoke to Joe about this with the three. I think the first game against Everton, I honestly think it's Longstaff, Stack and Ampadu, and then I think he'll bring Tanaka on in about 60 minutes. And I do think the substitutions will be earlier when we're so stacked out in that middle at Park. People are also having a go about Harry Gray being involved quite heavily in the Premier League preview. Ultimately, that's just good for the club, isn't it? I don't know why everybody's getting the bee in a bonnet about it. You must remember how much his brother was sold for, won't you? So I think they're just sticking him in there, keeping him in the headlines, keeping him in the headlights, and suggesting to everybody else that we've got another excellent youngster on his hands. Whether or not he's going to feature or not, I know some people, for some reason, just blindly want him to come in and play, but Peru can't do it, but Harry Gray can, It's just that it's a madness to me. I'd love it if Harry Gray was the next coming of Erling Haaland, but, he's some way off it at the moment. I mean, he looks like a decent player, of course, but it's just so hard for these youngsters to make that step up. We've done this over the past few years where we've signed a lot of youngsters, and there's very few of them come to the forefront. And then you get your Somervilles that actually have, and then they've moved on, and then some people wouldn't have Somerville back. So it's a madness to me. After the season he had in the Championship, he rightfully got his move, to be fair to West Ham. It's hard to make it work at West Ham in general, never mind for, again, it's the step up. It's the if the squad are a bit more boring, not playing towards your strengths. Everything went through Somerville with us. We was more even without Somerville, but we was less deadly, I'd say. So, although goals wise, everybody just chipped in, which we're going to need to do again this season. There's been some nonsense about Dominic Calvert-Lewin again. I mean, because we're all getting a bit panicky about the fact there's a bit of silence, even though I think something is brewing. We're all getting a bit panicky. Just if I'm honest, on my level of panic now, I'd probably take him at a push now. I know we've not wanted to go ahead with it. Apparently he wanted far too much money and stuff, but it doesn't help. I mean, I don't think Calvert-Lewin fancies it in general. He wanted a shit ton of money apparently, but Sunderland are now in for him. So that'll get, because the only club we're in competition with is Sunderland. Shout out to my Sunderland fan that says, for somebody that don't care about Sunderland, you don't have to mention Sunderland a fair few times. He got 3 goals in 26 league outings last season. Apparently he's looking for a club further up the league, which, you've never heard like it really, have you? I mean, it beggars belief. I don't want to be that guy, but it is a bit mental. And in the fact that he wanted high wages doesn't shock me remotely, to be honest. So best of luck with him trying to get a move any higher than a sort of like newly promoted club. Obviously, we will not be going back in for him. I think we've more than well moved on. And if we'd have got Muniz, if that's still potentially on the table, I know there's some rumblings that other clubs are now in for him and perhaps the favourite as opposed to us. But you'd want that all day, wouldn't you, over Calvert-Lewin. Leicester, we've obviously been talking a lot about Bilal El Kunus, however you say his name. They're likely to be forced to sell him out. Obviously, we've been relegated. £24.5 million release clause. Again, Leicester will be doing the same thing. They'll be holding out for the big bucks, won't they? I know the release clause is the release clause, but if there's a few clubs in for them, I would imagine, you just go to the highest bidder, don't you? Or if they can get a better deal elsewhere. Obviously, they're not going to go over the release clause, but teams would if the player was, wasn't situated as well in terms of wanting to go to the club. So if you're going to get a big move, once you've triggered the release clause, you could potentially say to 30 million, and it doesn't really work like that. But the release clause is the release clause. But once you put down a bid for £30 million as well, I do think other agents, other teams, other players sort of know that you're in the market for some big bucks being spent, and they've all got their nose in trough, haven't you? So they know that you're looking to spend relatively big. And to be honest, we're potentially running out of options, aren't we, to some extent? 13 days before first game of the season, you really want to be bringing a winger in. It is exciting that El Kunaz and 24.5 million is a bit of a scoop, a bit of a push, but ultimately that's the type of money that you're spending for attacking, frightening the defense type players. So it's an interesting one. I think there'll be some developments with that. I've got to be honest, my spider senses are tingling a little bit. They're settling in a little bit. I do feel as though something's on the horizon. I honestly do. Whether or not it's today, tonight, in the next hour and a half, it'd be pretty funny if I upload this and then something does happen. But what are your thoughts? That's Sotil as well that we spoke about a few days ago. He's at Fiorentina. He went out on loan to AC Milan, but didn't really play. 118 minutes, he got 6 games. It's a bit like he's apparently training on his own at Fiorentina because apparently his time is over. That's a statement not from someone within the club that his time is over. He will be getting into the last year of his contract, so they'll be looking to cash in. It's apparently not clear where he wants to go, but there is a few clubs interested in him, a few clubs from further down in Serie A. And obviously, us apparently interested in him. He's only 26, so I would imagine he would have options. It'd be interesting to see what he wants to do. But yeah, other than that, guys, it's again not time to panic. We've got plenty of time. Let's see what happens in the next coming days before the big AC Milan game. Let's go, baby. Like, subscribe. Appreciate every which one here. I might be live, I might not. Just let us know what you're saying. Peace. Keep the videos coming the same. They will. They shall. It can. Can't get any worse, can it? It can.
I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna hear your promises. You do you and I'll do me. That's just the way it is.
Boom.